It is time for the biggie, everybody. It is time for the best game of the year for 2019 and our Rocket and Raygun Awards. We have been having a blast digging into all of these categories and getting into, some squabbles behind the scenes, and I know people have got some very different opinions about their choices, which is all good. We've got our nominees for the Game of the Year coming right up, but first we want to hear from the community.
My game of the year is Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's a little surprising that a remake would be my game of the year. I never thought that would be the case, especially for a Resident Evil. But at the end of the day, this is my favorite Resident Evil game of all time. It is the best Resident Evil game of all time. 2 was never my favorite, but somehow they decided to reinvent not just what remaking the game could look like, but what would a Resident Evil in the style of the survival horror game from the 90s be made like in 2019. It really stands up with some of the amazing games that came out this year. Jedi Fallen Order, Control, all of those. But Resident Evil 2, to me, proved that a remake can be more than just the same game with a new coat of paint. This really is one of the most special games I've ever played.
My nomination for Game of the Year is Resident Evil 2. No question. It's such a fantastic game. It's so scary, the graphics are amazing, and I love how they engineered the storyline a little bit so it's not the same exact story that you played back in 1998. Great game, great graphics, legitimately scary, no question. Game of the Year 2019.
My Rocket Raygun for the 2019 Game of the Year goes to Capcom's Resident Evil 2 2019. The original Resident Evil 2, when it was released back in 1998, was a bona fide classic. I had high expectations for this re-release, and they were more than met, both familiar and new, and the Mr. X sections were utterly terrifying, and I love the new map. Great work.
Resident Evil 2. I really enjoyed how scary the game was. I thought the gameplay was superb and the graphics were really stunning. I was really pleased to see that Capcom was able to remake the very Resident Evil game that I first played.
My pick for Game of the Year is Resident Evil 2. The way you were thrown back into Raccoon City to relive everything you did as a kid really cemented me to make this pick. Couldn't imagine not playing this game in this way ever again. Getting there front line and center and seeing everything they did from the sounds, it really scared me again after playing it again, and that's my pick for Game of the Year.
I almost can't believe that I'm choosing this game to be my favorite game of 2019 because I do believe that there are some fundamental issues with the game itself. However, it does demonstrate what makes video games such an interesting medium, and that is control. Every time you fire your weapon, every time you suck something out of a wall and shoot it with your telekinetic powers, it feels fun, and that's all that matters. I could do that endlessly. And so for that reason, Control is my favorite game of 2019.
I loved Control. I found it created a world that was both instantly recognizable, but also so different than anything I'd played before. I loved the way the lore and the story played out. I found every piece of fiction in the world to be truly phenomenal. The way that I would read things in offices that later gave me hints and tips for side levels or side quests later. To be perfectly honest, I played it on a high-end PC, so I know that people who played on console, especially earlier, might have had different experiences with load times or frame rate. But in my experience, the way I played it on PC with ray tracing, Control absolutely blew me away, and it is 100% my Game of the Year for 2019.
My choice for Game of the Year is Control by Remedy Entertainment. This is the most X-Men video game we have seen in years. The telekinetic, floating, badassery pervades in this incredible adventure game, and it really brings together all of the pedigree that we've come to expect from Remedy Entertainment. It just all feels really good in action, and there's a real director's touch to the subtle ways that you have to juggle all of your different superpowers, so you're not just spamming a single button. When you're pulling concrete out of the ground and flinging it at other people, it's part of a greater rainbow of crazy Professor X power, and that's why I really love sinking my teeth into the lengthy, wonderful, beautiful adventure that is Control.
I have to go with Fire Emblem Three Houses because there hasn't been a game that I've been so immersed in, considering how well crafted the game world itself is. Every character is well defined, and considering the fact that the cast of this game is pretty big, the fact that every single one is voiced and written perfectly pretty much ensured that I'm not gonna leave this game world anytime soon.
Game of the Year goes to Death Stranding. Visually beautiful, music selection is amazing. It's a game that has a lot of meaning, a lot of important themes built into it.
My Game of the Year is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I know it's got problems, I know there was crashes for people, the loads are too long. It doesn't matter. This is the perfect example of why I play video games. It is an amazing story, amazing acting, beautiful, varied levels, awesome gameplay. The fact that it made me actually feel like a Jedi, right? That I couldn't just go in there and angrily bash things, that I had to sit there, I had to think, I had to deflect. This game is fantastic, and it made someone, me, not just someone, me, it made me love Star Wars.
This category wasn't on the list.
It wasn't.
But we're gonna sneak it into the awards, and that is for the best gaming industry personality of the year.
Maybe of all time.
Possibly of all time.
Certainly as far back as I can remember.
Which is not very far.
No.
I think we're thinking of the same guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's done a lot for us.
Exactly. It's probably the only logical choice you could come up with. So, do you want to say it together?
It seems appropriate. Yeah, I think we should. Let's do it together.
On the count of 3?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Scott
Victor
Jones.
Lucas.
Who did you say?
Victor Lucas?
Who?
Victor Lucas.
Not familiar.
Not ringing any bells?
Not from IGN?
This is embarrassing. I'll explain this to you later.
Okay.
My best game of the year and best VR game are the same one. It's Asgard's Wrath. Above any of the games we got this year, this one did it all. You play as a god, as a human. The use of scale is crazy. From towering over entire landscapes to watching giant gods fighting in the background. Super visceral combat, some magic thrown in, item hunting, new areas to explore. It has everything you want out of a VR title and is by far the best game I played this year.
Some excellent choices there. This has been a pretty damn good year for video games. One thing that I definitely recognized about this year is that it wasn't overloaded with lots of standout 10 out of 10, oh my god, I've never played a game like that before types of experiences. This year, there was a ton of great kind of 9 or 9.5 out of 10 experiences out there. So it's made picking our winner very, very hard. Here are our nominees for the Game of the Year in 2019. Control, Astral Chain, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, The Outer Worlds, and Luigi's Mansion 3. And right away you're thinking, why isn't Resident Evil 2 on that list? I know it's an incredible game. Resident Evil 2 is phenomenal. But I felt like, and we didn't do it this year, but I felt like it is the best of a really nice collection of remakes or reboots that happened in this year. We chose to pick 5 games that were fresh for this year, that were new for this year. They might be sequels, they might be concepts that have been tested or tried before, but these are fresh games. And our list includes The Outer Worlds, which is developed by Fallout New Vegas developer Obsidian Entertainment. And you can certainly see the Fallout kind of learnings and lessons. It's a recipe that has worked quite well for both Bethesda and Obsidian. The Outer Worlds is refined, and it runs very well. It's not too big that it gets clumsy or out of control. It's not plagued by bugs. It delivers just enough of an epic, planet-hopping experience to appease anybody that likes these kind of open-ended, multiple replay type of experiences in the first-person role-playing genre like this. It is not, however, our game of the year. Control from Remedy Entertainment is the strongest game that Remedy has made, and they've made some awesome games like Max Payne and the Alan Wake titles. But I love the refinement of this game and the commitment to tell a very trippy and creepy story that completely messes with your mind. You don't quite know what reality you're in as you're playing through the game. I've also felt with Control that it starts excellent and it ends excellent, but it doesn't really peak like our winner does. And we've got a couple of other games that came so close. Actually, all 3 of our remaining titles were exclusives for Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about Fire Emblem 3 Houses. This easily could have won the award for Best Game of the Year, partially because of the amount of unbelievable content that's in here. It is a game filled with twists and turns and lots of different, allegiances that you're going to have with characters and betrayals that you're going to recognize in the story, and lots of replayability because you're going to want to try different encounters in different ways. You're going to want to try your hand at choosing a different house and figuring out all of the intricacies and all of the incredible detail that intelligence systems put into all of this. It's really threaded and really sleek and absolutely a must play for any Switch owner out there. So it comes down to 2 for the best of the year for us this year. And I got to tell you, I went back and forth on this like crazy because I love both of these games. And if I was going to cheap out here, I'd give these two games a tie. I'm talking about Luigi's Mansion 3 and Astral Chain. And I just spent a bunch of days playing both of them again and getting reacquainted with both of these titles again. And I love them. I just cannot believe the fidelity of Luigi's Mansion 3, the sense of tactility with all of the objects in the world. You don't know what is going to, transform into a ghost that might be out to hurt you or hunt you, or you have to suck it into the poltergust. The other thing that I really marveled at with Luigi's Mansion 3 is that it's not a game where you have unlimited mobility. You've got a very set structure and a set amount of moves. You can't jump. You have to kind of blast with both trigger buttons to get Luigi to hop up in the air. So you can't really dodge or escape from attacks. You have to be very clever with the way that you maneuver through the world and the way that you point your vacuum weapon properly at the bad guys and the different objects that you have to suck up. It's just so intelligently made with the constraints that this franchise kind of built for this game. And there is a tremendous amount of freedom and creativity and inventiveness, and I love that because it's kind of reminiscent of what game makers used to have to contend with, when we talk about the roots of this business. They didn't have super elaborate or complex architecture and hardware that they could just build whatever they imagined. They created clever things with real constraint, and that's what Luigi's Mansion 3 is to me. And so that leaves Astral Chain. And right before we started shooting this, I was back and forth. I was going to give it to Luigi's Mansion 3, and I was like, I got to give it to Astral Chain. And as it stands right now, I'm giving it to Astral Chain as our game of the year. The reason for it is that I didn't expect this game to be as addictive and original and inventive and surprising and tuned as it has turned out to be, but I should never not count on Platinum Games to deliver titles like this because they have proven that that's the kind of company they are over and over and over again. This looked like, to me, in Nintendo Direct videos and presentations that I had seen before, as kind of a cash-in, just like, well, let's put two Bayonettas together and see how two Bayonettas can maneuver through the world. But it's way more than that. I mean, there's elements in there that sort of evoke a lot of the action combat stuff that Platinum is famous for, but there is a lot of really cool interpersonal dialogue. There's some clever sidetracks and some really interesting observations on the world and the kind of meta experience that this game delivers. But at its core, it's just a ridiculously easy to play and fun action title. It's really fun to wrap your astral chain around the bad guys and use your Legion characters to just dole out all kinds of damage. Death Stranding has received a lot of praise for its kind of esoteric and crazy storytelling about the ethereal connection that we have to the past and the dead among us. And Astral Chain delivers all that as well, but it also delivers way more variety in the way that you play it and a lot more, for my money, a lot more rewarding gameplay. I will give you that it takes a bit of time to kind of get used to it. You have to lean in and get the most out of it. And what blows my mind is that I was on vacation when I got the review code for this, so I was playing this fully just as a portable title as I was cruising around the hills of Scotland. And this game could not be further from the real-world experience that I was having, but I was still completely sucked in and captivated by this incredible game, and I haven't been able to stop talking about it. Blake and I were talking about this before we started rolling. I said, this is the game we've talked about the most this year. That's a damn fact. This game is awesome, and I don't think it's been receiving anywhere near the amount of love that it deserves. I've been shocked to not see it on lots and lots of award category lists out there, and I think it's a crying shame because I think that Astral Chain is the very best video game of 2019. So congratulations to Platinum Games and Astral Chain. You knocked it out of the park. That's our winner. But if this is just the first video that you're watching, we have a lot of other categories that we dive into. So please check out all of the other categories in the Rocket and Raygun Awards. We've also got a whole bunch of videos about the best games of the decade because, of course, we're wrapping up 10 years of pretty fun games. Check all of those out. Let us know what you think about everything in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching our videos and for watching this one.